Will India decide what the rest of the world drives?
Indians are very emotional. When you buy a new car, it is not only a product. You are getting a family member home.
What does the car represent to this unique customer?
I think the key word is aspiration. It doesn't matter which demographic is buying our vehicles. The car still has a unique position in society where it's a real avatar.
And how is what the Indian customer desires influencing manufacturers around the world?
We ensure that in our engineering and design, the doors open to 90 degrees, which means the ingress and egress, getting in and out of the car is very, very easy, even in some of our traditional clothes.
Once a theoretical possibility, now an almost certain reality, Indian car design will pave the way forward.
This leads us to the gist of the matter. What exactly is Indian car design?
And just how is it going to shape the car of tomorrow? We delve in. The way a car looks doesn't simply happen. It involves a highly complex global craft, the car design industry. Cars are designed all around the world, but only rarely for the entire world. Simply because drivers in Shenzhen have not just different needs from those in Wyoming, but different tastes as well. And as China is the world's largest car market right now, the majority of cars built today have been designed to appeal to that driver from Shenzhen. But what about tomorrow and beyond? What local flavor will the car design of the future come seasoned with? Chances are it'll be Indian. This isn't simply Berlin, Germany.
This is a vivid display of car design of the past. The past that was, for the last 2 decades or so, strongly defined by Germany. Not just German car makers and German car designers, but the global car design industry attempted to lend its products some rigid, precise Teutonic flair. Many an Italian, French, South Korean, and even American car came with a helping of German style. Why? Because German cars, and hence German car design, were considered the best.
This period, when German car design was a global standard, was by no means singular. A certain nation's dominance in car design has been a recurring motif for several decades. Before the car makers of the world tried to make their cars look Deutsch, they tried to lend their product some Italianità. And even before that, it had been American car design the others tried to emulate. Think of the tiny European post-war cars that looked like shrunken US barges. They were a reflection of the rest of the world desiring American opulence and optimism after World War II. Later on, it was the crisp, modern Italian style that set the global standard. And then, about 25 years ago, it was the German look of solidity and simple sophistication that acted as the industry's gold standard.
Today, in the year 2025, we are experiencing a shift away from the prevailing German car design dominance towards an aesthetic and conceptual approach that is less like car design as we know it and more like product design. Think smartphone on wheels. That dramatic shift is due to a single market's preferences.
China. Until very recently, Chinese car design had been defined by foreign brands designing what they believed to be catering to Chinese tastes, and by Chinese companies adapting international trends. But all of a sudden, and with quite a vengeance, Chinese cars have taken on an appearance all of their own. Unencumbered by a century of car design history, but besotted with technology, the Chinese design approach is now being adapted elsewhere.
But if the car of yesterday looked rather German, and the car of today comes with Chinese flair, what's next?
Chances are an Indian chapter in car design history will start to be written in the near future. India is growing after all, with regards to population and economy and, most crucially, its middle classes. Peak automobile is nowhere in sight between the Arabian Sea and the Bay of Bengal. Instead, those middle classes' appetite for all things automotive is only growing, meaning Indian tastes and demands are bound to become increasingly more important to car designers all over the globe.
This leads us to the gist of the matter. What exactly is Indian car design? This is a question I'm not able to answer myself, frankly, which is why I've asked the leading lights of Indian car design about the past, present, and future shapes of the Indian automobile.
Pratap Bose is Chief Design Officer at Mahindra & Mahindra. Martin Ullrich is Head of Design at Tata Motors. And then there is Joey Park, who leads the Indian Advanced Design Studio of Korean brand Hyundai, and Kaushal Singh, the studio's Head of Design. These are the people closely studying the Indian market of today in order to envisage the Indian car of the future. At their disposal are state-of-the-art design studios in India and elsewhere. Tata and Mahindra also run advanced design studios in the UK and Italy, while Hyundai's Indian outpost is part of the South Korean car maker's global network. Indian car design is now a global effort to create a distinct, local product with billions of rupees at stake.
But where to start? In China, it's technology that drives design. Hence, the interchangeable appearance of many a Chinese electric car, which essentially serve as a vessel for onboard electronics anyway. In Europe and the US, it's a legacy that acts as starting point. For what has served in the past shall serve as basis for the future. But what about India? Where do Indian car designers start from?
The existing legacy is that there's not much legacy at the moment. It's a relatively new country from an automotive culture point of view, so it opens up a lot of opportunities in terms of what direction it goes.
Our history of architecture and fabric and textile goes back thousands of years, all the way to the Indus Valley civilization. So, design in some way is really a intrinsic part of people's lives here. You can see it in our temples, or you can see it in the saris and some of the traditional clothes that we wear. So yeah, it's been a part of life. Now, as an organized profession, it's not that old. It's actually quite young. Maybe architecture and fashion design is the first formalized form of design in India in terms of education and practice. And then automotive design is even younger than that. Because as you know, India truly opened up its economy in the late 80s, early 90s. And that's when the automotive industry started taking shape with the influx of global OEMs who started looking at India seriously as a market and as a manufacturing base. But for design, I would say India is probably a real baby, automotive design.
Popular historical Indian cars such as the Hindustan Ambassador, Premier Padmini, Maruti 800, Tata Sierra or Tata Indica were hardly indigenous Indian pieces of design. The Ambassador was an adaptation of the Morris Oxford, the Premier Padmini was a variant of the Fiat 1100, and the Maruti was Suzuki-based. The Tata Sierra was a modified commercial vehicle, while the Tata Indica, considered the first advanced Indian car, was designed by a consultancy in Italy. And so the legacy-based design approach doesn't lend itself to the Indian car design sector.
Neither did it to the Chinese. Until just a few years ago, there was no such thing as a specific Chinese school of car design. And yet today, the rest of the world tries to hastily apply full-width light bars to the outside and as many displays to the inside of its cars as possible.
Car design evolves faster than ever, so it's just a matter of time before Indian cars will look intentionally and emphatically Indian. But will the next generation of Indian automobiles look Chinese, meaning more like technical devices than traditional cars?
The reality is, at the moment, the China market and the China products are ahead of the Indian market and pretty much any market globally at the moment. And their approach to automotive design, like you said, it's a consumer device. And most of them are electric, and they're seen as a digital product. The reality is, in India, we're still in the sort of industrial analog phase of automobile design. So the cars still have a feeling like, I would say, a more traditional car design. But I think that's going to change.
I see great parallels in what happened in our telecoms industry. So we went from waiting for a couple of years for a landline phone, and we made a jump straight into cellular and mobile phone technology to become one of the largest growing markets in the world. I think we add a few million consumers for mobile telephones every month. The same thing is true as a parallel in the automotive world. The penetration of automobiles in India is quite low. I think it's between 25 to 30 people per thousand. And that translates into a huge opportunity of growth. Now, being young as an industry also, therefore, and I mentioned earlier, allows us to do things in a new way. We don't have to always follow the paradigm of what's happened in the West.
As India starts establishing its own car design identity, one concern above all else will make all the difference: the Indian customer.
Indians are very emotional, and there is one ritual when you buy a new car, you have to do some puja, some worship and those things, because it is not only a product. You are getting a family member home.
We give the rear of the car a lot of importance, and to get in and out of the car, we have SUVs which are quite tall. So we ensure that in our engineering and design, the doors open to 90 degrees, which means the ingress and egress, getting in and out of the car, is very, very easy, even in some of our traditional clothes, like a sari or a dhoti, for example, which sometimes can limit, how much you can move. So we do take into consideration some of these. So one is, it's got to look a lot more expensive than it is. It's really got to make a statement.
India customer, what I felt like, they are more focused about the road present and then the flashing item. And also the most important thing what I felt is that they really like to customize the car. So they are more about focus on the how I can make my own road present, which is different from others.
When I look at the colors and the materials, globally, white, black, silver, gray are kind of the colors of the automotive industry. But India is a colorful place. We also have a festival of color called Holi. So color is very intrinsic in our lives again. And, the customer has started now really looking at some really bold, standout colors.
This market is completely different. I can't actually say that we design something here for the local market, and that could, per se, we could say that it is going to work in Europe.
I think the key word is aspiration. If I look at, it doesn't matter which demographic is buying our vehicles, but, the car still has a unique position in society where it's a real avatar in terms of, who you are, what you stand for, and what you aspire to communicate about yourself, as much as clothing, you would say. And the automobile, in many ways, is your sort of mobile business card that communicates your status in society, and also your ambition. So when you talk about aspiration and status, definitely, again, that sort of it's no coincidence that SUVs are probably the most popular vehicles, because they also communicate a sort of, look, I have arrived, a certain status socially and things like that.
The SUV. We love it for its stance and promise of versatility all over the globe. It's been a favorite among Indians for even longer. The likes of Tata Sumo and Safari, or the Mahindra Scorpio, were exceptionally popular decades before the SUV trend turned global. The SUV is a pillar of the Indian car market, and evolving here in all kinds of ways.
My aspiration is to get one SUV. But my limitations, suppose my infrastructure in my town, maybe narrow streets in hill stations or something, is not allowing me to get that big SUV or big sedan. But my aspiration is to get the SUV. That's where this micro SUV fits in. And that's why we design those small SUVs just for India. Because consumer is aspiring They are looking for that product. They are looking for that kind of feel, that shape. But they are not able to get that product in their house because of some limitations. But we are trying to fulfill those dreams.
Cars are typically not purchased for rational reasons alone, which is why design plays such a critical role in the success of so many an automobile. Like the Tata Nano, a groundbreaking car that seemed like a perfect solution to a great many people's needs, but wasn't met with affection and bombed in the marketplace. Successful car design has to appeal both to the head and the heart. It needs to be both rationally and emotionally sound. Micro SUVs are among the first indigenous Indian design solutions, with more to come, informed by specifically Indian tastes and traditions.
One thing I'll say about India is a warm country, not just from a climate point of view, but from a social, color, vibrancy point of view. And the one thing that I'm always trying to promote with our designers is that our products are warm, not just from a color point of view, but that they have an identity, they have a character, that they don't become white goods. Because, pretty much everybody now globally can offer a good quality product and a good quality design.
Nothing is boring in India, right? Even the food we eat. So, going down the device path for us at Mahindra would not have been true to what we are as Mahindra. We are all about really bold statements on the road. People see it, they fall in love, they buy the vehicle and they go out and explore.
This country is huge. If you see after a few kilometers, like the language is changing. The kind of food we eat after a few kilometers, it changes. It's too diverse, and the kind of flavors this country is looking for, the kind of UX each and every state is looking for is different than other countries. So I would say a product which is a master or kind of, sales are really good in other markets, that product is not going to directly fit into Indian perspective. Because unless it is designed or it has flavors which are more Indian, then it is going to work.
It's not just that the cars Indians want and need are different. India itself is drastically different. Larger, younger and faster than almost any other place right now.
As Pratap Bose pointed out earlier, India has a way of making up for a late start with spectacular speed, as happened in the telecommunications sector and other high-tech industries. Electrification of cars is pursued at a similarly brisk pace, as are last-mile mobility solutions, which are only slowly becoming reality elsewhere, yet have been in use as scooters and auto-rickshaws in India for ages. Now these concepts are being refined and future-proofed alongside a countrywide infrastructure that's created at immense speed.
You've seen how much the government is investing in infrastructure, the highway system, and sustainability and a sort of clean air policy are almost urgent from an India point of view, if you see pollution and things like that. But also the economic growth of the country is actually hinged on the investment in infrastructure that the government is doing. But because of our group sister companies, we have a real opportunity to create synergies, with a charging network, with green energy, and having the products being almost like the plug-in element to this like larger ecosystem. So for sure, we're involved in these discussions and projects and brainstorming and creating a roadmap, to achieve this.
If I take our own case as Mahindra, we have Auto Farm and we have what's called LMM, which is last mile mobility. So it's very possible, Christopher, that one of our customers can experience any or more of these products in just one day, right? You can operate a tractor, jump onto one of our three-wheelers and then get onto maybe one of our buses and then ultimately end up in a lifestyle SUV all in one day, all from one company. So if you can imagine, we do have an end-to-end sort of product offering as Mahindra Automotive and Farm.
The recent Bharat Mobility Expo showcased all these facets of emerging Indian car design. SUVs in all shapes and sizes, as well as highly creative mobility devices catering to this young, colorful country.
The country is unbelievably young. You know, half the country is under 35. The growth potential, obviously economically, but also demographically and from a value system. So when you're designing a product, you have to understand the value of your customers, the principles of your customer. And I think, you know, the country is unbelievably open to change because they all see it as an opportunity to move forward.
One thing is that we will not have any legacy issues if and when we do go overseas. You know, in the electric vehicle market, sometimes your legacy can weigh your products down, you know, and we've seen that in many cases. You've taken some European examples. You know, some companies are unable to break from their legacy even when they do sort of, you know, brand new futuristic electric vehicles. When we take our products overseas, they are designed to global standards. There is no compromise on that at all. So, you know, when we do go, it will comply with all regulation, be it safety, be it, you know, functionality, performance.
It shall be interesting to see how and when Indian car design starts leaving an impression on the streetscapes of, say, Berlin.
Maybe in the form of particularly family-oriented SUVs with especially inviting cabins. Or maybe in the form of electric scooters and three-wheelers that are especially fit for purpose. Before that happens, though, we can be certain that Indian car design will evolve just as swiftly as its homeland. Where do you think the car of the future will be designed? Let us know in the comments and don't forget to subscribe to our channel.